Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's like I said, like Brent said, we're a new product machine. So there's certainly innovation that we've come out with. Gosh, Brent, what like some of our sockets, even down to the accessories, like we always pride ourselves on being obviously a power tool company. But to your point, Craftsman's only good as his tool. He's also only good as the accessory that's driving the tool. So, some of the accessories we kind of have come out with and are kind of on our roadmap are again designed to eliminate processes that are monotonous or unsafe or take a lot of time. You look at some of our distribution sockets or transmission sockets or pole step removers that are certainly used in the telecom industry. Some of these tools are just super simple designs from a mechanical standpoint, but again, they eliminate a very monotonous process and save the user, a ton of time. Brent, what are some things that come to mind for you?
I again bounce back to those technical tools and some of the hydraulic line that we call Force Logic, our Force Logic
Yep.
products. And there's two specifically that we can kind of relate back to the overhead and the underground, both work in telecom or utility or a power utility. I look at an overhead ACSR cutter. We looked at the pain points of users using ACSR cutter, and basically you had to have three hands to actually operate it. You had to have remove a pin, throw the latch over, hold the conductor, hold the actual tool, put the pin back in. So either your buddy's helping you or you're holding it kind of awkwardly. And we focus a lot on ergonomics. And that's not just blowing that out of the water. It's actually we focus on the way they're holding the tools. We actually hook up users to modules across their body to see where the pain is and the stress that's going to be on their body and their muscles. And so when we relate back to those two tools, an overhead tool, you're going to hold it overhead, right? So we position it to where it's very weight balanced, so it's easy to use and it can be used one-handed. So you can open up the jaws, put it on the conductor, it automatically closes, and you can cut. Another big problem with the tools that were out in the competitive landscape is those tools are extremely heavy. So we were able to use a military grade aluminum, and we're able to knock on that tool specifically. I think we knocked off about 4 to 5 pounds off the head of the tool. So doing that from a heavy steel, you were able to make it less conductive, and you're also able to make it a lot lighter and a lot more balanced. Now, taking that down to the underground, I can give you a specific within the communication vertical right now. It's the projects going on by the tier one providers is the copper reclamation projects. So they're pulling the old copper out of the ground. Well, we have a tool, it's somewhere on this truck here, but there's that's the ACSR cutter, and then we have a underground cutter that's made in a more of like a lunchbox type style, if you're familiar with that terminology for some of those cutters, where you can actually set this cutter on the ground. It'll stay there on the ground, and it'll position itself up. Or you can hold it, or you can suspend it. So we looked at the way users were using these tools. If they're in a vault, or if you're in one of your central headquarters, and you need to cut copper out of that actual central headquarter, you can suspend that from the air and actually make the cut. We also looked at the dangers involved on the power side specifically. If somebody was cutting an underground cable and that cable was not spiked or cut off, locked out, then we were able to actually add a remote feature to those cutters. So that was something that was actually revolutionary. So if a guy's down in a hole and he's cutting a cable that's got power running through it, he might not know if that cable is energized or not. So now we've removed him or that person outside of the hole, and we're able to back him off 100 feet and make that cut. So biggest thing for us is safety and that ergonomics piece, and making sure you guys are safe out in the field and can return home every night. So that's a big part of it. And I think that's some of the biggest innovations that we've come through. And I give that credit back to our product managers for being out there and researching it with our end users.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
remember doing pole transfers once upon a time with a corded drill, and those big auger bits when you're, drilling a hole to do a pole transfer or to play some hardware. Boy, if that sucker ever grabs, you better be hanging on. I have had one, turn me over and about break my wrist off and wrap the cord all up in it. So, the drivers was a great invention to eliminate, if that bit hangs, it's not going to flip you over and break your wrist or, other things. So, yeah, the safety bit is a great big piece, and
So
the evolution of tools is great to see from both an end user safety, but also functionality and portability standpoint. Go ahead, Matt.
so Mike, yeah. So even it's funny you say that. We saw that years ago, and in the next generation of some of our rotary hammers and our two-piece combo kit, that's the staple bread and butter of the professional grade end user. We added a feature called auto stop. So those tools have an internal gyroscopic mechanism in it that understands that if the tool violently goes, in a certain degree percentage, 90 past 90 degrees, it'll automatically shut off, even if your finger's still on the trigger. So these safety features, we realized were easy to implement, and obviously saved, a ton of time and a ton of injuries.
I could have used that 30 years ago, but it's there now. Thank
There
you
you go.
guys for doing
We
that.
hear that a bit.
Yep.
Quite
Yeah.
a bit.
All right. We talked about the accessories a little bit too, and that's a huge one, because it doesn't matter whether it's a saw or, a drill or a driver, having the right accessories is important to effectively, efficiently, and safely use that tool. Um, Can you talk about maybe the expansion of, Milwaukee and that specialized accessory, but then also general accessories too?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, again, one of the big things with Milwaukee is, with a lot with our linear edge line of accessories, which entails hole saws, bandsaw blades, sawzall blades. Some of these core accessories. They're made domestically in the United States, which is, I think, really important to mention. And that goes along too with some, a large line of our hand tools made domestically. It's really important, again, to have the manufacturer creating the tool, but then also creating the accessory that drives that tool and drives that performance. It allows us to get really granular, and allows us to be really involved in the manufacturing process, so that we know that we're, cranking out the best in class, accessories for, not just the telecom or power side, but of course all industries. But yeah, it's a huge piece of our business. We always say, what is it, Brent? We always say that the tool is just a glorified bit holder. That's all it is. The bit itself, or what you're using, is really doing most of the work. So that's important. But Brent, is there anything that you can think of, specifically for
Yeah,
the?
kind of adding on to that conversation, being a manufacturer that makes both, we can study what we're cutting, what the user is using, what materials they're using. That's something we've also added a lot of technology, a lot of AI and learning into our tools, where now you can actually go into the tool on these one key tools and you can change the manufacturer's preset settings. So if I'm using a 3/4 inch hole saw through 18 gauge stainless steel, I can dial that in directly into the tool, where the tool will know, hey, I need to run at 700 RPMs on this and go slower so you don't burn out the bit, or anything like that. Longer screws, like, hey, we might need to dial that up. You want to speed it up so the end user doesn't have that frustration pain point. So we've done a lot of that. Matt mentioned it with the gyroscope in there, and there's some other competitors that have kind of leaned on that, and they're able to do the similar type thing. But again, our tools are actually learning while they're being used. So we put a lot of AI and a lot of actual information technology into those tools that say, hey, it's not, a guy might want to turn his wrist while he's drilling. You might want to drill sideways, or if he's in a confined space, he might have to angle it different. So it's not about the angle of the tool, it's the reactionary force of when that tool breaks. So there's so much machine learning, but us being a manufacturer of both the tool and the accessories, we can provide both to where our tools perform at an optimal standard when we're using both of those. So we know exactly what that tool is going to perform like.
So somebody that does have a lot of Milwaukee tools and a lot of Milwaukee accessories, I was kind of teasing with Matt. Even my pocket knife is a red, my daily carry.
Love to see it.
But yeah, there you go. But I also like that the pack out, cases and things are consistent, with the tools and the accessories. I have some different drill driver, bit sets and things, and just the geometry of the cases and everything lend themselves even then to storage in the pack out kits, which is really awesome. So let's talk about the pack outs and some of the storage solutions. So we've covered the tools and the batteries and the accessories and the technology. But getting them around safely is important also, right?
Yeah,
So I have two
absolutely.
of the wheeled bases and then a whole bunch of pack out kits. I've got one for plumbing, one for electrical, one for hand tools, one for drills and drivers. Yeah, my garage is fairly well read. But talk about the pack out kits and that idea and the evolution and how all of those things kind of play together.
It's one of my favorite lines, actually.
Oh yeah.
Everybody can get into storage and organization. How are we going to bring the tools to the job site? This has been one of the most exciting lines for the telecommunication industry, also, because you guys are leaving your garage, you're getting in a vehicle, and then you're headed to a job site. You don't want to make trips back and forth from that vehicle to the job site to where you're working. You want to take everything in one shot, and we were able to do that with Pack Out. And like I said, it's our most addictive line I've ever seen where anybody can get into this organization. We've got people who are into arts and crafts that use them, fishing, hunting, not just all on the job site. So Pack Out can go just about anywhere. But the ability to actually store your tools the way you want them, be able to bring in your chargers, heck, even a Pack Out mug attaches to it. So you can bring in your drink without having to carry it, wheeling in that two-wheel dolly. Uh, that's one that's the tool is absolutely endless of where we're going with Pack Out, and you're going to be very excited to see some of the things that are going to be coming soon, and might see some pretty interesting things that'll be directly related to your vertical communications.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
you have my undivided attention.
Yeah.
There we go.
But the big thing is just being modular and being able to set it up the way you want it. Different size boxes. We've now even innovated to listen to pain points from our own products. When you talk about actually right here, the two-wheel cart, that was the start of it, and that's what really set off Pack Out. Now we've made it to where you don't have to take the boxes off. It's actually a drawered unit, so you can pull open that drawer. Now you can stack from that drawered unit. You can stack drawer units on top of it, 2, 3, 4 drawer units. It's endless, and that really makes the users happy. And that is one of the most exciting product lines I think we've launched in quite a while.
Even
Yeah.
to add to that, Mike, if I may, even with that two wheel base that kind of set it off. Brent's talking about the pool drawer that just came out, but even years before that, we created this base, and it's got a telescopic handle on it. And when the handle collapses all the way, we learned very quickly, through feedback from our users, that when you roll back a tonneau cover on a truck, it doesn't close all the way because that handle is about 2 or 3 inches flush above the cover. So, in true Milwaukee fashion, we said, nope, that's not going to work for us. If it's not going to work for our end users, it's not going to work for us. So I would say within 6 months, we had a rolling change with that SKU in particular, to where we basically sold out of all the units that had that handle that was a little too above the break point. And we replaced it with a handle that collapses far enough to where a truck tonneau cover can close completely. And now that's basically the product you get moving forward. So, and we even added it's a replaceable SKU you can buy. So maybe you got the original one, you're like, oh man, I'm locked out now. Nope, you can buy that SKU for 20-30 bucks and put it into your old pack out. So you basically have the version that's moving forward.
I have two, and I noticed that they were different. And I will tell you this, I have a Ford F-350 as my personal vehicle, and I did notice that the handle sticks up slightly above the truck bed, because that's how I haul a lot of my stuff.
Yep.
And it has actually been a source of a little bit of frustration, because obviously that's the base, right? And then I can stack my hand tool 2-drawer chest on top of that, and then my drill and driver on top of that. But you still got to take those off to get to the bottom one. So I'm really excited about the base that has the drawers in it, so you can access from the front instead of from the top. But I did
Yep.
notice that the handle was different on the two. The first one that I got was years ago, and obviously that's the taller handle. And then the one that I got last year, because I seem to have acquired more tools that I needed to have something to put in them. That one had a different handle on it. And I wondered why, but now it makes sense.
I know.
And now I know. All right.
Very cool.
That is a cool thing that Matt brought up, because that's one thing about our company is we're really close. We always preach Milwaukee's all about people and culture. And one thing about our company is we can get on the phone. If you came to us with a problem today, we can get on our phone with that direct product manager, and we can have a conversation and say, hey, this needs to be addressed. And they listen. There's not a lot of bureaucracy. If we find that pain point and it's something that all of our users are seeing, we can make an immediate change. So it's pretty exciting, and it's really interesting to see the speed to market which we can bring these products and these corrections into the market.
100%.
So that's something that is awesome.
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time, to talk to us about, the telecom vertical and power vertical, and really reinforcing what I think we've been trying to express for a while, is that this is a trade, and that the tools matter and craftsmanship matters, as well as safety and efficiency. It's pretty common in just about every industry that, we're being asked to do more with less and faster and better. And keeping up with the technology. It's great to know that we have a partner like Milwaukee that is really listening to the craftsmen and women that are out there doing the job every day, and partnering with us to create solutions to make them better at their craft, and also to keep them safe. So thank you very much for taking the time and giving us a little bit of history. I wasn't aware of the origins of Milwaukee with Henry Ford. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it's great to see how far we've come. And I still have a Sawzall, still have the portable bandsaw and the right angle drill and all those amazing
M28
and the M28, man.
There you go, man.
That thing's still a workhorse to break glass in case of emergency. If I have to pick that one up, it's getting serious, and work's getting done. So,
Love it.
But it's good to still have it, and I'll keep it around as long as it still runs, and the batteries. Which is, I was telling you this before, Matt. I think I've had that thing for almost 20 years. I have the same two batteries that I've always had, and the same charger, and everything still works. They live in the garage all winter, which batteries tend to not like the cold. I can go out there in the middle of winter, the batteries are still have some charge in them, or they take a charge quickly, and that thing is just a workhorse that
Exceptional.
I've appreciated for a long. So all the M18 stuff is great too. So thank you guys for everything that you do to support our trade, our industry, and our chapter, and appreciate the work being done by all the fine folks in Milwaukee.
Thanks, Mike.
We
Thanks for having us, man.
And everything y'all do.
This was fun.
All right,
thanks.
Wraps up another episode. So stay tuned. If you're in the Pittsburgh market in June 4th, stop by the Penn Ohio SCT vendor show, where you may be able to see some fine Milwaukee tools in person.
It's on the calendar.
Look forward to it.
Thanks all. Stay safe.
All right.
All right,
Take care.
Mike. Take care.
Bye.